Hey, YouTube family, welcome to another Kevin Strong show. And in this show, as the title says, would you delay going to college, let's say for 4 or 5 years, if that meant over your lifetime you could get $500,000? We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about jobs that pay a significant amount of money without a college degree. And as promised, I'm going to give you an update about the small account challenge. It was a rough week. Terrible week for me, but as transparency goes, I'm going to share the numbers with you in real time. So if you're new to my show, welcome. Start off by giving me the best compliment that you can by subscribing, hitting the like button, and more importantly, or equally importantly, please leave a comment to help the YouTube algorithms share my content. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into this. So I don't want to be accused of clickbait. So what we're going to talk about is what would happen if you went straight, you didn't go to college right away, you got a job. And that's what we're going to talk about. So here's where I'm going with this. So let's say for 4 years, you got a normal paying job making $40,000 to $50,000 a year, which really isn't that hard to do, especially in some states where the minimum wage is $20 an hour. So let's say you decided to tell your son or your daughter or your children, hey, I'm going to let you stay with me for 4 years. But one of the caveats is that basically you got to save the majority of your money. So in this example, we're going to say you're going to do that. And let's say this person is going to delay going into college for 4 years until they're 22. So over a 4-year period, they're going to save $22,000. And that's what this first field represents. They're not going to contribute any more money, okay? And then 40 years later, which really puts them at around, age 66? Sweet spot for retirement for some, full retirement 67. By the time this younger generation is eligible for Social Security, even if that fund is around, it'll probably get pushed up to 70. But just for simple math, let's say over a 4-year period, they have a normal job, they're living with you, so they don't have any expenses, so they're able to accumulate $25,000, okay? And then we're going to assume that they're going to invest that money at around 8% after they get it up to $25,000. They're going to stick it into a fund that's going to be comparable to the S&P 500, which historically speaking averages somewhere around 8%. So how much money would you have if you stuck $25,000 into an index fund that got you 8% on average over a 40-year period? At age 66, 67, you have $543,000. So you basically have $500,000. And more importantly, you still have the option of whether or not you go to college. Now, personally, I have a college degree, and for me, it was worth it because back then, a college degree meant a lot. I don't think it has the same meaning in return on investment. I think we're in a totally new economy. I think AI is phasing out a lot of jobs, and I think there's a better path for a lot of people to pursue. But a lot of parents are fixated on getting that affirmation. It's almost a rite of passage of saying, what a good job I did as a parent because my kid's going to XYZ, fill in the blank. For some, it may still be worth it if you want to be a doctor or something like that, but there's something to be said about disposable income. So let's take a look at some jobs that really pay well and do not require you to have a college degree. Okay, so first of all, we're going to start off with airline pilots. It takes approximately 2 years. I think you need about 1,500 hours to get certified to fly commercial commercial plane. And a lot of these industries are actually paying for you to get the training because there's such a shortage. That's at $148,000 and a modest 4% growth between now and 2032. Information security analyst, 112. Elevator and escalator installer, basically 100 grand. Special effects artist, 100 grand. Transportation, 100 grand. First line supervisor, police and detectives, 96,000. I can tell you, cops in King County, starting out with a high school diploma or GED equivalent with a little bit of overtime can easily make $130,000, $140,000 their first year at 21, 22 years old. Radiation therapist, 89,000. Subway streetcar operator, 88. Electrical power installer, 82. I'm sure these guys get a lot of overtime, $100,000. Dental hygienist, 10,000. I'm sorry, number 10 is at $82,000. So a lot of options, a lot of options. I don't know if it's worth it or not. I have a son that's getting ready to graduate from high school next year. And when he was younger, I was all fixated on the college thing too. But if I'm being completely honest, I would probably tell him, KJ has a really, really good, he has a special talent. He doesn't give a shit. And what I mean by that is that he doesn't internalize rejection for a long period of time, which is a quintessential skill that you need in sales because you're going to deal with a lot of rejection. So I would probably have to say, in all honesty, I would probably tell my son, understand obviously the stock market, understand how to trade stocks and grow your money, maybe get into real estate, investing in real estate, owning property, accumulating assets. And probably if you're interested in sales, find an industry that you have a lot of passion for and find a mentor that's in the top 5% and then shadow that person for 5 years. So if somebody did that, in my humble opinion, between the age of 18 and 23, they would easily be making $300,000 to $400,000 a year before the age of 30. But we don't get fixated on it, right? We send our kids off to college. We send them off for debt. A lot of us have degrees. We didn't meet our expectations. We did not self-actualize. So it didn't work out for us, but we're going to roll the dice and thinking, damn it, Susie, damn it, John, get in there. It's going to be different for you. Really? Is it really? Or are a lot of people incapable of just thinking out of the box? It's not sexy to say John or Susie went off to be an electrician or went off to be a welder, right? Or went off to be a plumber, which we all know they make a lot of money and you can obviously become very successful at that and basically open up your own business. But a lot of that isn't sexy. So I always tell people to try to boil things down to their most simplistic way of looking at things. When you use your debit card and you use your credit card, the system doesn't ask you what kind of job you have. Are you happy? There's something to be said about not having debt. That means freedom. That means options. And at the end of the day, does it really matter? When you're 40 or 45 years old, let's say you're making $500,000, you got a great house, you got a great family. Are you really talking about where you went to college at? And if you are, it's just a conversation piece. A lot of times what people are talking about in social circles now is about how much damn debt they have. Misery loves company. So I'm just not a big fan of it anymore. Like I said, when I went to school at Cleveland State, it was $3,000 a year to go full time. When I was going back in the 90s. So it's just a totally different economy right now. And a lot of people are incapable of thinking outside of the box and saying, what's in the best interest? What's in line with my kids' talent? And more importantly, what are they passionate about? And if they still are fixated on going to school, understand there's some economic realities around it, right? If you just want to read books and teach preschool, that's great. You're not going to have $1 million house on the lake. There's nothing wrong with that. But once again, accept the economic realities of your job choice. And don't get fixated in all this pretentiousness that starts to percolate among different parents as their kids getting ready to enter college because they want affirmation to themselves and to others to talk about, hey, look at where Susie's going. Man, hell with that. I tell KJ, this guy is making $500,000 a year in insurance. You need to follow him and do everything he's doing for the next 3 years. And I guarantee you, you will be ahead of the curve. So without further ado, enough about that. We're going to slide in and basically end with this dismal performance I had in the stock market this week. Let me go ahead and pull this up and get this out of the way, and we'll talk about this. Let's see here. Why can't I get, there it goes. All right. Back to reality. So this is what the deal was. Last week, make this smaller here. Here it is right here. 2006. Last week, this was at like 4,200. During the week, it was at about $4,500. I was almost up 17%. Once again, the NASDAQ, the tech industry took a beating, and I just got on the wrong side of some trades, and basically the count's basically down 38%. So we started at $4,000 2 weeks ago. Now it's down to $2,600. So there's a $1,400 principal reduction in the account. So I'm going to probably not pause, but be a little bit more prudent and just sit on my hands for the first couple of days. But I'm definitely going to enter some trades next week to get this account up. But like I said, as far as full transparency, that's what's going on. I had another big deal with another account. I'm not even going to go over how bad that was. But one of the accounts I will say was in a day was over $5,000 loss in one day. You might be like, holy shit, it was substantial. But me and another person, we just laughed about it. When I say laugh about it, I only trade stuff that I can afford to lose. And so here's the deal with that. So I'm gonna punch in the stock here, and it was JP Morgan. This was my killer on my other account. This wasn't the one I just showed you. This is my Fidelity account. So on Thursday, JP Morgan was at about $195, right where my mouse is right there. So I took out some option contracts, like 8 of them, right? A whole lot for those of you who understand options. And the options were set up to expire tomorrow. And I was looking at the trend, looking at the charts, and they had good guidance. They just came out of earnings, which you really shouldn't do a lot of options trading around earnings anyway. But I felt confident at the time, like, hey, JP Morgan's at 190. I think it closed at $195. I said, there's no way by Friday that this stock is going down to 190. So what I did was called a bull put spread. I had a short entry at 190, and I had a 5 wide spread at 185. The long was at 185. JP Morgan tanked, as you can see here, and the damn stock closed at 184, well below my strike points. So it just wiped out everything. So that was a lesson. That was very, very, it is what it is, you know. I'm just going to just leave it at that. I don't have any words for that. Like I said, it's an account that I just aggressively trade. I'm not obviously going to disclose the dollar amount, but obviously, you know, that's a significant amount of money to lose in 24 hours. So wanted to kind of do a different video today. Like I said, I've always been an advocate, you know, of education, especially given my background, how hard it was for me in school. So graduating from college was a really, really monumental milestone for me, but I just don't think it has the same punch in the labor market as it once did. But I think a lot of parents are still fixated on that. I think they're going to send their kids down a dangerous path. And like I said, hell, with that initial calculation of $500,000, you could still go to college at age 22 and be on path to have $500,000 set up by the time you're in your mid-60s and still graduate at 26. So is delaying college by 4 years really that big of a deal? Especially if you get a job right out of college that offers some type of tuition reimbursement to help offset the rising cost of college, to mitigate the amount of debt that you would possibly be saddled with once you graduated. But once again, those aren't sexy options to a lot of parents, and a lot of kids feel peer pressure. What are you doing right after high school? What college are you getting into? And some of us think the entry level or the level of college that one gets accepted to is their ticket to freedom and financial independence. And for the majority, probably 85 to 90%, they don't make that $300,000-$400,000 a year. They just don't. Those who do take that skill set and eventually become entrepreneurs, or they start their own business. Finally, last but not least, there's a popular book called Millionaire Next Door. Some of you have heard of it. I do not think some of the teachings and factual data inside of that book is applicable to society today. However, that book had some interesting data that I'd like to share with you. And basically, almost 85 to 88% of first generation millionaires, I think that book came out in the early 2000s or whatever, don't come from money. Almost 85% of those were college graduates. We see kids now trading Bitcoin. We see kids doing all kind of entrepreneurial things. The lavish life, laptop lifestyle, they call it, making hundreds of thousands of dollars, being digital nomads, traveling all around the world with freedom. You don't have to do it the old way, because I don't think the old way works for the majority, but most people are still going to follow it anyway. So that's going to do it. Hopefully I will have better news for you guys regarding the small account challenge. Like I said, I'll probably sit on my hands Monday and start entering some trades in the afternoon or Tuesday. But this war situation and this geopolitical situation that's happening in the Middle East does have an effect on the stock market. But at the end of the day, I promised you transparency, and that's what you got. If you enjoyed this edition of the Kevin Strong Show, please, once again, hit that like button before you click off the video. Please leave me a comment about delaying college for 4 years if you still want to go. And how do you think about, what do you think about that? I'd like to hear your comments. This will conclude the Kevin Strong Show, and I'll see you guys in the next one.